Well, we keep threatening we're going to do it, and now we're doing it. Big news hit today. I'm sure everyone woke up this morning to the great news that Reggie Bush finally is going to have his Heisman Trophy reinstated by the Heisman Trust. USC has been willing to bring Reggie back. Reggie said, I'm going to wait till I get my trophy back before I come running out of any tunnel. If you guys notice right now, I got a quick little poll for you guys. If you want to see, maybe I'm asking you, what home game do you think he's going to run out of? It's just a great day to be a Trojan. But remember, I'm Tim Prangley. I'm here with Matt Zemek, my editor over at Trojans Wire. But this is your guys' show. It is a call-in show. Numbers right up here, 888-997-4539. Give us a call. Let us know how you feel about Reggie. Let us know how you feel about Kyle Ford coming back to USC. And then also Kristen Miller, the 6'4", 310-pound nose tackle from Georgia, has just entered the portal. A lot of smoke swirling around that. All these topics are on the table. But again, as always, this is your show. Call us and you guys can lead. Matt, amazing news today, right?
You've been clamoring for it, so like we don't have to have your whatever, like 4,896 or however many days it was. Like it got close to 5,000. So that is a long time. And now, like, let's be honest, this was going to happen at some point, but like with every week, every month that it dragged on, it just became more absurd. Like, why haven't they done this? Why haven't they joined reality? And so the uncertainty, the not knowing, the feeling that, this wasn't being taken seriously, in many ways, like that's the relief here, is that we don't have to, wrestle with this anymore. And it's the final admission of, the college football powers that be, being against USC. And they were past tense, they were. And now this is like an admission of, what, everyone's letting go. And like, we're not going to forget, but like, we don't have to be, tensed up and like, why isn't this happening? We can let go of that. And it's a great thing to happen as we move into the summer and prepare for a very big 2024 season at USC.
Yeah. I mean, I think Pete Carroll said it best. Great day to be a Trojan. It is a great day to be a Trojan. I'm loving it. We got our first caller, but caller, if you could just give us 1 second. The USC administration put out a video. I'm sure many of you have seen it. It's been about 1 minute and 30 seconds long. I'm gonna go ahead and play it really quick for everybody. You can take a look at it. Here you go.
Reggie, what a great day. From the entire USC football family, we want to tell you congratulations on being reintroduced into the Heisman family. I know for you, for your family, your former coaches, teammates, everybody that's been associated with USC football, this is really, really special for you to be reintroduced back into the Heisman family, for your trophy to be back on this campus with the other 7 winners right where it absolutely deserves to be. The Heisman and USC have for a long time been very synonymous, and to now be able to recognize all 8 of our winners is very, very special. So congratulations, my friend. You absolutely deserve it. We're so proud of you, so proud that you're a Trojan, and proud to be a part of this history with you. Congrats, and fight on.
Reggie Bush, USC.
Were you wearing down? Were you getting tired? Did you want it one more time?
The more touchdowns I scored, I think the more energy I was getting. It was such a great day today, and all I can do is thank God and my players, for putting me in position to, make plays happen for them.
Reggie Bush right up the middle, hits the outside. He's at the 30. It's another foot race. Cuts it back to the 20, comes back to the near side of the field. He is going to go. It's going to be another USC touchdown and another thing of beauty from one of the best running backs you would ever see.
Just a great video, a long time waiting. It's been about 14 years, can you believe it, since the NCAA got everything completely screwed up, started with a very screwed up investigation, led to screwed up findings, led up to a lawsuit getting Todd McNair his name back and some money for the smear job. They tried to use him to get at USC. It's a great day here at USC that one of our own, number 5, Reggie Bush, is going to get his Heisman Trophy back. Much deserved by Reggie, as well as the fact that, like we've been clamoring on since I've had a platform. I've been saying this almost every single week, just saying, give the man back his damn Heisman Trophy. It's finally happened. Matt, we have our first call of the night. Just wanted to start off you guys with that video. I think it's a great job by the athletic department, just kind of showing, a lot of you guys, younger people, may not know Reggie Bush, man. That's what YouTube is for. Go ahead and check it out if you don't know. The rest of us know absolutely. Just guy's probably the best guy ever to play college football. No, this is my lifetime, the best college football player I've ever seen. Caller, thank you so much for waiting. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, I'll wait anytime. That was a great intro. This is Russ from San Diego.
Russ, how you doing?
I'm mostly feeling pretty good. And, I like probably like both of you, like everyone in the comment section in the chat, I'm sure we were all absorbing a lot of YouTube videos today, seeing what everyone had to say about it. And, I just can't help but be a little salty right now. And, the reason for this is that, if we go back to the wake of, and I'm glad, Matt, that you pointed out that there was basically a conspiracy to screw over USC, to punish USC. But more than that, there was very much a conspiracy to legitimize the quasi-death penalty that we got. And, after the sanctions came down, and, I'll let other people address the X's and O's about the dude from Miami, and, Notre Dame's athletic director was part of this whole thing. And
Missy Convoy.
There's so many different X's and O's levels. But, in the wake of that, in the years following that, we had the Auburn situation where it came out that Cam Newton basically got paid to play to go to Auburn. And then there was the big one. There was, the thing that happened at Penn State, where it was basically Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky were running Epstein's freaking island out of Happy Valley. And after that happened, it was amazing. It was like in unison. There was this narrative when it came time a couple years later to, we should move on from this. And there was this like, every talking head from a commentator to an analyst on ESPN, on whoever, it was the strangest thing. It was, these kids didn't commit the infraction here. They didn't commit the crime, so why should they be punished? And I'm just like, what universe are we living on? Reggie Bush graduated long ago. Every kid who was on USC had been gone for 5 years. But the company line, when it was USC, this is self-inflicted. This is self-inflicted. From Brent Mutzberger to what's his crony's name? Kirk Herbstreit, that clown. All these people from every which way, the company line was this was a self-inflicted thing by USC. And then when it came time to one of the most horrific, if not the most horrific thing that's happened in college football, we have to forgive Penn State. These kids didn't do it. And, watching so many of these talking heads from the media today, it's like, where the hell were you guys for the past 10 years? I don't remember any of this talking. I'm listening to like Dan Patrick and Rich Eisen. These guys have been around for 20, 30 years. Where were they 10 years ago? So yeah. I'm still
Russ. Hey Russ, are you been charged up over this, Russ?
Trojan, say it again.
I say you a little bit charged up about all this. It sounds like you're pretty charged up, Russ.
I'm a little bit charged up, man. I'm a little bit charged
right?
up. So listen, I'll clear the line so more people can call in. But I've had an axe to grind for 15 years. Great day to be a Trojan. Fight on, Reggie. Fight on, guys.
Yeah, fight on. All the great points. Thank you, Russ, for calling in. A bunch of things. You said a name that really pissed me off today as I was listening to national media. Rich Eisen, big Wolverine guy, unabashed. He's a Michigan man. We'll get to his comment. Say we got a call coming in. Hold on one second. Let me see. The caller would be. Give me 1 second. Call. Give me 1 second, really quick. I'll be right with you in a second. Rich Eisen. Basically, there's still, even though Reggie now being cleared, all this stuff, and so full disclosure, he was saying Reggie should have never. He didn't agree with the sanctions. Reggie should have his Heisman. Blah blah. He couldn't help himself. This is two national. Dan, who's the other ESPN guy? The old time Sports Center.
Dan Patrick
and Rich Eisen, both of them. both of them said things that were totally incorrect about the case. This is the problem with it being like, so many years ago and happening. They're still talking about pay for play. That was on the Rich Eisen show, pay for play. His intro into this, his segue was, speaking of people getting paid at USC. Speaking of people getting paid by USC, that was his segue into the Reggie Bush thing. See what I mean? Dan Patrick was talking about, well, yeah, but even under the current NIL rules, it's still in a violation because he didn't pay the loan back. And then say, well, yeah, it could have been. Well, if he had gone through the proper channels, to get the loan, you couldn't go through any channels. There were no proper channels back then. Literally, were no proper channels. Just the messaging that's still coming out, even though Reggie on his day is getting his Heisman Trophy back. The messaging from national media just still has not changed. Sorry, I had to say that really quick because I heard Rich Eisen's name. Matt, anything more for us?
No, let's hit the call.
Okay, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, gents, this is Jackson Johnson from Meridianville, Alabama. How are you guys doing tonight?
Jackson, doing really good. Any thoughts on Reggie?
Yeah, I was thinking about how you guys feel because, Tim, I remember you and I talked a little bit earlier today how it's been 4,970 days that USC has waited for Reggie Bush to get his Heisman back. That is a long wait.
Much too long. Yeah, 4,970 days since he turned it back in on September 14th, 2010 is when, it's almost 14 years, right? 13 and change. And it is ridiculous, especially as they said. Did you notice also, though, there was no apology or nothing in that statement. You didn't think there would be. But basically said, well, the college football landscape is changing, meaning going back to my first point, Jackson, I've stood by the whole time. Forget the screwed up investigation that was shown to be materially wrong and lots of factual errors wrong about it. Forget the fact there was really no connection ever really to USC, and they had to pay millions of dollars to McNair to try to, cobweb it in, cobble some story together, really, to have it so where USC was involved. But at the end of the day, the whole Reggie Bush sanctions and what happened to Reggie Bush was a mess, because if it's illegal now, right? So the Supreme Court, Kavanaugh is basically saying you can word it however you want, that it's winning the right way or playing or tradition or whatever. There's still rights that human beings have in this country to earn money off their name, image, and likeness. And for over a century, more so just since football and TV got into bed together, the universities have been getting beyond rich. The networks have been getting beyond rich. The coaches, the coaching staffs have been getting rich. You know who hasn't been getting rich? All of the players, the stars, and everyone. So they basically were told it's illegal. You can't do this. So they did an immediate reverse in 2021, and they got into the whole NIL thing. Now it's kind of out of control. Now it is pay for play, basically. But when you boil it all down, if it is illegal now, it was illegal then. So if you go, well, he broke the rules, and there were rules back then. If you had an illegal rule back then, it should just be wiped clean. You should not be allowed to be punitive against somebody, especially when it's unconstitutional to do so. I mean, that's my whole point. Matt, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I just remember the point, and I've brought this up before. And hey, Jackson, I'm glad to hear from you. And hey, everybody, you want to check out the Jacksonian. Lots of great college sports content on a consistent basis at the Jacksonian. That's Jackson's show. The point I keep hitting is that, there was not an impartial overseer of the NCAA case against USC. Paul D. of Miami, who was running, it turned out, years later, it was uncovered that Paul D. was running a crooked shop at Miami. That's the thing that gets me. We can think of various, unique political investigations of sports issues or sports figures. Like, let's consider Major League Baseball and steroids. George Mitchell, the esteemed senator from Maine. Like, he was not a corrupt guy. Like, he was, a reasonably independent arbiter, had a good public reputation. But the NCAA picks corrupt Paul D. from Miami, who was, being a renegade, trying to get an unfair advantage at Miami with that program absolutely running wild, all while bringing down the hammer on USC. Like, that's the thing that gets me all these years later. Couldn't have gotten a truly independent, principled person who is like beyond repute, beyond question in terms of integrity. No, the NCAA just absolutely stacked the deck with Paul D. And then we saw the continued rotten fruit with the hatchet job on Todd McNair. Let's like you and Tim, you mentioned him. Boy, I hope USC does something to honor Todd McNair.
Yeah.
As well as Reggie Bush. Todd McNair has been dragged through the ringer. His name, his good name, his reputation, been dragged through the mud. I hope that Reggie Bush and Todd McNair are both honored at a USC game this season. Maybe separately, maybe together. Maybe you do one of each. Like they both deserve to be recognized. After, in light of today being that final admission of what, none of this deserved any kind of significant sanction or penalty. So that's my main thought, Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson, any thoughts for us? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like the way the NCAA acted, I mean, they were acting as if Reggie Bush was out doing some naughty business in the back room. I mean, like, good grief.
Yeah. Yeah, they tried out. They continued to try to make it seem like more than it was. They sat around with a fine-tooth comb, trying to find anything they could. Because let's face it, it was a takedown, Jackson. It was a takedown by teams and conferences that just could not beat USC on the field. They screamed and cried that it was unfair that USC is in Southern California with all the sunshine, and all the actors, and all the glitz and glamour, and Hollywood, and it's not fair. It's not fair. And throwing it in the face of college football, and they stuck it to USC. Let's face it, the Big Ten could not beat Pete Carroll. They just could not do it. The best of the best. Michigan's and Ohio State's took their shot at USC, couldn't do it. Then you have in the SEC at Auburn trying to take down USC, couldn't do it. Arkansas getting embarrassed, couldn't do it. There was nobody when Pete was rolling except for the Pac-12, or back then Pac-10, that could take down the Big Ten, take down the big machine that Pete Carroll had started. So Jackson, I always appreciate you. I got call stack it up. Always appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. Fight on. Again, remember, you guys, make sure you check out Jacksonian for all the content over there. Fight on, Jackson.
Fight on, gent. Stay safe, stay cool, stay away from the pollen. You'll get sick from that pollen.
All right, take care. Watch out, and I will watch out for the pollen. Yeah, the whole big thing about Nevin Shapiro you brought about Miami. That Miami case was disgusting. And then the fact that the hypocrisy of Paul D, like you said, sitting on that infraction, chairman of the infractions committee, talking about you either know or should, that USC knew or should have known, yet he's holding hands, getting gigantic checks from Nevin Shapiro, who's blowing NCAA rules out the window. Hi, caller. Thank you for calling in. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Brandon, a.k.a. Blackie Chan. How's it going, Tim and Matt?
Good. How are you doing? We got a celebrity on the line from Light the Torch podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's a great day to be a Trojan. And, yeah, like I've been watching a lot of Reggie Bush highlights, so I pretty much got no work done.
Brandon with an E, right?
Yep. Brandon
Okay.
with the E.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the whole Reggie thing? It's a big day for Trojans. What was your take? I mean, we all knew this was coming, but you expected it this soon?
Well, I was expecting it sooner, so it's a little too late. But a lot of people are now coming out as supporters of USC, and like the first caller said, that like it's a little too late. You guys, where were you guys before? You guys just changed your tune all of a sudden, but it's fine. They can join the bandwagon right now, so that's fine. But two questions here. So, do you think that Johnny Manziel played any kind of part in this with the pressure that he was putting on? And what do you think is going to be the first to replace after Brian Kennedy's billboard?
What was the last part about Brian Kennedy's billboards?
Yeah, because Brian Kennedy's billboard about Reggie Bush.
Right, yeah. What about him?
What do you think is going to replace that?
I'm missing the end of that. I'm so sorry.
What do you think will replace after that?
Replace the billboards?
yeah, what do you think will be the next thing on that billboard? Because that billboard's been up forever.
Oh, well, I don't know. Matt, you want to take a shot at that first? So go ahead, Matt, because I can see your mind's spinning right now.
No. I mean, like, someone will find. I would just guess that it won't be like a generic thing. It'll be someone will try to do something special to replace it, but like what that is.
Probably 8. If I had to pick, I would put 8 Heisman trophies on a cardinal gold backdrop. That's how I would just put that up there for a couple of weeks or at least months. Brian Kennedy could afford it and he owns those things. So I think that would be a pretty solid choice. Maybe it's a picture of, maybe a thank you card to Manziel. Cause you said, Johnny, I mean, let's face it, we don't know what the Trojans have done behind the scenes. I'm sure that the other Trojan Heismans have been working with the other Heisman winners. We know in life, right? If you wait around till legislators change rules, change things, if you wait till administrations change anything, you're going to be waiting forever. Just like going back, to child labor laws or abolition or civil rights, it never happens, through the proper legal channels and all that stuff. It always happens with grassroots people that are tough, that stick up, like Johnny Manziel, willing to put their name out there and say, hey, this is wrong, and it needs to be fixed. It's always like that. You just look at history. Nothing ever gets done properly. It's always done by people, brave people willing to go against the grain and say, hey, you know what? We all know this is wrong. How come nobody's doing anything? And so this is another perfect example of that. I know I'm not comparing Heisman trophies to the other topics I talked about, but you guys get my point. That's how things change. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Johnny Manziel is the reason that the Heisman was returned to Reggie Bush, but he certainly played a part. Like he fueled. There was like a 48-hour media cycle just about Johnny Football, Reggie Bush, and Johnny Manziel was very popular. He gets clicks, he gets a lot of SEO rankings. So he has a certain degree of media visibility and popularity just in terms of the industry and Google search. So the fact that it was him and not a less prominent Heisman winner, and also of course Johnny Manziel having his particular story where he was trying to cash in before NIL became a thing, before players were able to fully capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. There are just so many things particular to Johnny Manziel that certainly helped the powers that be realize that, we can't keep this Heisman away from Reggie Bush. It's a different era. It's a different landscape in college football. Like, this is no longer tenable. So I don't know if Johnny Manziel was the main reason this happened, but he certainly gave a lot of momentum to the effort. He certainly pushed it along and really helped things get to this point.
No doubt. Yeah, Brandon. Any final thoughts?
No, but I just think it's going to be a rough follow after that billboard goes down. So whoever is going to take over that billboard, it better be good.
It better be good. And so again, you guys, if you haven't checked out, the description the link is in the description for Light the Torch podcast. Go check out what they're doing over there. Again, great USC content in this community. And a lot of the names are down there in the description. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
All right. Fight on.
Fight on. Yeah, that's the good point he makes about those billboards. They've been sitting there for a while. I'm gonna need a new bit too. I just thought about that. I can't just keep flashing the Reggie Bush, countdown anymore. But although I can still keep the countdown going for the NCAA, and that's one thing we need to talk about, you guys. This was for Reggie. This sorted some things out for Reggie. Reggie got his Heisman Trophy back, but the 2004 Trojans don't have their BCS title, according to the NCAA. We watched the game. We know they won, but officially they don't have that. They lost those. They vacated the wins. Was it 14 wins? Can't remember what exactly it was. What vacated was so stupid. Vacated titles are stupid as well. But they vacated those things.
That should be your next graphic. It's restore the wins.
Yeah, well,
you should absolutely make a thumbnail with that, and that'll be our new thing. And maybe that should be the new billboard.
Right? Right now, you're on the clock, NCAA. We got the Heisman back. Now it's time to make the rest of it right, because it's kind of crazy. They literally could not prove any wrongdoing. You look at the Michigan staff. There's a lot of show cause. Remember Pete Carroll didn't get a show cause. They gave Todd McNair. They stitched him up really because it was horrible. I mean, they showed that it was malicious and that they were actually coming after him, and there wasn't a lot of evidence. And the evidence they did have, again, was contradicting itself. It was a mess. Their investigation was truly a mess. And that's why Todd McNair sued them. And after a lot of legal maneuvering and drawing it out and dragging it out, finally they ended up settling out of court years afterwards, after no one really cared about the case anymore. But that's going to do it. Looks like we're done here. No phone calls coming in, which is kind of odd. I do know that there were a bunch of USC shows that went on earlier today, so people probably worn out. But our phone lines are wide open. 888-997-4539, 888-99-RILEY. Give us a call. There's 240 of you guys on right now between Twitter and YouTube, but we have not heard. I bet you Gary from Dana Point doesn't know we're on. That's a shame. Love to hear his thoughts on it. But we'll hear from him probably on Friday.
Friday, yeah.
So Matt, some more news came out. We have the situation with Kyle Ford, who went over to UCLA last year after being a Trojan. Most likely, I'm assuming, graduating here from USC, getting his degree, but then reading the room, looking at the wide receiver room, looking that he's probably not going to get a lot of touches, so he wanted to go somewhere where he could play. Goes across town to UCLA for 1 year, and has now come back just to say, my bad, right? And Twitter, mea culpa, right? Mea culpa to the Trojan family, and now he's back. Matt, what are your thoughts on Kyle Ford returning?
Well, the main thing is I think he's a really compatible fit in this wide receiver room, right? Because you have speed guys, and you have guys who are fast and agile in this group. And Kyle Ford is more of a physical, tough, big body receiver, a guy who can win some contested catches. Maybe he's going to be like the kind of receiver you throw the ball to on a kind of basketball route where his big body can box out a smaller defender. So I think Kyle Ford just can serve a very useful purpose on specific kinds of pass plays that don't or won't apply to the other guys in the receiver room. So I just think he serves a unique role. He fills a niche. And remember, when Jordan Addison and Mario Williams got hurt late in the 2022 season, Kyle Ford, along with Taj Washington, really stepped up. He made some really important catches in the Arizona and UCLA games from that 2022 season. So, after a 2023 in which USC's receivers generally disappointed, I think Kyle Ford is going to add real value to this 2024 unit.
Okay, just a really quick update. Oh, by the way, and one huge catch, right? That huge catch over UCLA to seal the UCLA win. Well, sorry, that wasn't until later, the defensive stand, but he did have that big catch in the along the fade and turned around and caught it to win UCLA. And it's an awkward to go and play for the Bruins last year. He has an opportunity possibly to go. Wait, I know he won't because we lost them. But good to see him back. I think a lot of people kind of got this wrong. I know some people were very upset with him. You got to realize he was a Trojan. He has his degree from USC. He was just looking, in my opinion, just trying to play football. He wanted an opportunity to go play football. I wish he had chosen somewhere else. But the good news is he's accepted his mistake and he's returning. So can't wait to see him in Cardinal Gold in the fall. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name's Craig. I'm from New York.
Craig from New York?
Yep. How you doing, man?
We're doing great. So how are you feeling about Kyle Ford coming home, or the Reggie Bush news, or we haven't talked about it yet, but also Kristen Miller. We'll talk about that in a little bit later as well. What are your thoughts tonight?
Yeah, I definitely have thoughts on the Reggie Bush thing. I'm a Trojan fan because of Reggie Bush, probably like 50% of the other people my age. So I'm definitely happy about that. Kind of feel two ways about it. Like, you know, I'm happy that obviously he gets the thing of getting his award back, and you know, hopefully they give us our wins back too. But also I'm just like kind of like a little bit too late for me. Like why now? Like why? Like after like nobody cares. Like now they get like all right, but yeah. So I kind of feel both ways about it. And I also like I had a question too. Like I want to know how you guys feel. Like, do you guys think like was it the Johnny Manziel thing that made them kind of give it back to him, or you guys just think, you know, I guess maybe like I heard you guys say that they settled out of court. It's like so just had to wait till like the court stuff was over, or you guys think like the pressure from, you know, Johnny Manziel doing all these interviews and saying that he wasn't gonna you know, go to the Heisman if Reggie wasn't going, ultimately the reason that Reggie got Heisman back. And then my other thing, Kyle Ford, don't really care. He left USC. He barely got on the field for us. Not really concerned about him. I'm actually more concerned about Malachi Lemon. I think he's going to be a more productive receiver for us this year. So Kyle Ford, I think he's like good depth piece, I guess, but not really going to do anything. Didn't do anything when he was here. Didn't do anything really at USC. He had a couple good catches when you were here, but not really moving the needle. And and my last point is I hope we get that guy from Georgia. I think we will get him, and we need him. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, a great call. You touched pretty much on everything. I think you touched every point. Just going back to, I echo the sentiments of Matt. I think that Johnny Manziel was not the reason why I got it back, but I think that a little bit of extra pressure, you know, at the right time, and then I think you hit it as well. I think this big pause served its purpose. It really did, because like I said, with the national media, they're still talking about pay for play. It's still so muddied. No one's really that interested. I was talking to Gabe from Trojan Blade. He put out a USC video. If he put out a video, you know, even maybe 8 years ago or 7 years ago, Reggie Bush gets his Heisman back, it would have blasted the news cycle. You know, now really, honestly, most people, one, are in two banks. Either they're pissed off, but they knew he was going to get it back, and so they're just kind of indifferent. And then you have the USC fans, where all of us knew this day was coming. I mean, most of it. Sorry, 99% of us knew this day was coming. It was surprising and shocking when it came actually today. But once the initial shock wore off, it was really just like, yeah, I mean, this was eventual. So I think it served its purpose. You knocked down one of the greatest dynasties in college football. You chased Pete Carroll off. I know Pete had been flirting with the NFL for years, but let's face it, you know, that he was more probably just sick and tired of just having to deal with the NCAA and their ongoing witch hunt investigations and just all the problems you need to do. And then the sanctions killed it. We disassociate from Reggie for 10 years. So basically wiping out 10 years of recruiting, where Reggie was just the idol to all these kids, you know, and you could have crushed it in recruiting. You kind of almost erased him for what you did. They literally erased him and scrubbed him from the history books, taking care of that situation. Now, again, years later, 14 years later, they're reinstating his Heisman, but the NCAA still has not gone back and given USC back its victories, its earned national title on the field, as many as any of these. You know what they really did do? They did a big apology to the 30 guys out there in the world, somewhere walking around right now that could have had USC degrees or could have been coached by and played USC football. And those 30 guys were the ones that really got hurt by all this. They'll never have a scholarship. The NCAA just went crazy and hammered USC. What are they going to do? They're not going to, in the end of this, they're like, who are they going to hurt? They're going to hurt innocent guys. They're supposed to be protecting the student athlete. What they did is they kept 30 student athletes from playing football at USC because they're doing the dirty work for a couple different conferences.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Craig. Appreciate you calling in.
I had one question. I had one more question, right, guys, real quick. I want to know how you guys feel about like, as far as like everybody's transferring, right? The transfer is going crazy. Like, how do you guys feel as far as like, especially because like this and I hate to use him, but just because like he's just in the news right now. But the cornerback from Colorado, Kwamani McLean, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about as far as like not chasing like stars versus like character? Like with all these guys, you know, transferring, and they done been to like 7 high schools and they made them transfer to like 6 different schools in college. Like, do you guys think like we should be focusing more like on getting like good kids versus like just chasing stars? Because everybody's like, oh, talking about like we got 3-star kids, but like I feel like we're doing great in recruiting, like because we're not chasing like stars. We're chasing like character.
Right. Yeah. No, gotcha. Matt,
Matt,
what do you think about that? What do you think about the whole recruiting ranking star system as opposed to finding guys that fit your program that are character guys? That guys are coming here not because they want to get INL, but they want to come here, win championships, get to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you need to sit down with a prospect, or a portal player, and you need to know that he's committed, that he's all about the right things. And so, if that kind of player has the high ranking, great. But you start with making sure that you have a solid relationship, that the person is committed to your program, is focused on the right things, doing things the right way. That's where it starts. And like, hopefully you'll get guys like that, coachable guys who also have a lot of upside, have a high ceiling. But if you have to choose, between the guy who might be an electric talent, but he's a prima donna, he takes shortcuts, or, the lower ranked player who's willing to give it his all and has the great work ethic, you take that player, you take the work ethic, you take the coachable high character guy if you have to choose between one of the two. But you would obviously want to get the best possible marriage of that as often as you can.
Yeah, I can't add to that. Totally agree. Craig, you need that combination. Clearly you need the Jimmies and the Joes in order to win national championships. But if you get that locker room cancer, or if you get a bunch of me guys that aren't going to pull in one direction, sometimes you are, what's the addition by subtraction by either not picking those guys up or showing them the door. So yeah, I think that we don't know. I mean, don't stick out rumors. I don't know Cormani McClain at all. I don't think unless you know him, we should judge his character, because I'm sure a lot of people throw stuff around, coaches say things, whatever, but I've never met the guy. So I don't want to single him out in particular, but I do think that the coaches in general have done a great job of picking the right guys for this program. There, to my knowledge, have not been any major locker room issues with locker room guys, and so I hope that continues. But appreciate Craig you calling in again. I know this isn't your first call. Appreciate you calling in, and look forward to talking to you either on Friday or next week. But talk to you soon. Fight on.
All right, fight on. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah. So then I guess it might be a good time break in and talk about Kristen Miller really quickly. So he went into the portal today. He, like I said, he's I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm guessing, I think it's like 6'4", 305 pound, and at what position? At that nose tackle position, that position that was just vacated by Isaiah Rakes. So that is definitely something that's gonna be helpful to USC. You don't find a lot. I believe he's an X5-star, maybe a high 4-star. I'm pretty sure he's a 5-star. And all I gotta say is a Georgia lineman seen significant playing time, and that should make you guys mouth water about him. Matt, have you heard any news from as far as or what are your thoughts on as a prospect getting yet another lineman from Kirby Smart's system?
Well, folks, Tim wrote a story for Trojans Wire just before we came on the air, and Tim pointed out that Kristen Miller was a USC target a few years ago. So one would think like there's an avenue, there's an entryway for USC here, and maybe Coach Henny can do that woof woof thing, do a little dog work, and USC could get another difference-making defensive lineman from Georgia. We saw it with Bear Alexander. So, I don't know who's the favorite for Miller, but one would certainly think that USC can expect to be in the hunt. And that this is the kind of player USC needs to land. So let's see if Coach Henny can bring this one home.
I was going to let this poll go for a little bit longer, but it's just such a landslide. It looks like, so I put the choices were, well, the question was, which game will Reggie Bush run out of the tunnel? And, you know, I put Utah State simply because it's game one. That got 23% of the votes. Wisconsin got 6, Penn State with 10, and Notre Dame with a whopping 61%. So everyone thinks that they're going to wait. We're going to wait until the end of the season to see Reggie Bush come out. I don't know. That'd be a heck of a wait. It'd be a huge game for that, obviously, right? With the infamous, or the famous for us, infamous for them, Reggie Bush push. But I'm really thinking that's gonna be early. I could see possibly like that tough. That's gonna be a tough game against Penn State. So if you want that motivation factor, and if the coaches got their way, I bet you to get the crowd pumped up for that Penn State, I think that would be the one. If you want to put butts in the seat and sell out the Coliseum for a game against Utah State, it's probably going to have a very sparse crowd. If you went ahead and announced ahead of time that Reggie Bush is coming, that would be a heck of a marketing coup for USC. I'm going to hedge it, and I'm going to think it's going to be Penn State. I don't know, Matt. What would you get? If you just had a guess, what do you think it would be?
Yeah, I think Penn State makes the most sense because you don't know how big. I mean, you know, Notre Dame's an important game because it's a rivalry, but you don't know if that game's going to have college football playoff implications or not. Penn State is the game that, you know, most likely when that game is played, it's probably going to be a really big deal. Now we all hope Notre Dame's going to be a huge game, but we don't know that. And it's at the very end of the season because it's in LA. So I think Penn State, like that's going to be a national TV game. It's likely to be a very significant Big Ten game. Winner could have the inside track to the playoff. Loser, you know, will be in huge trouble for the playoff. So that's the one that makes sense to me. And yeah, Utah State, no, don't waste Reggie Bush on Utah State. You know, you're not going to get a capacity crowd for that game to begin with. You know, the Dodgers are going to be, you know, trying to work toward a division title. It's probably going to be really hot as well. No, you save Reggie Bush, I think, a little bit for Penn State, but you don't wait until the very end of the year against Notre Dame. And I think that for anyone who would very reasonably say, you know what, Reggie Bush, you put him for Notre Dame, like that's the biggest game on USC schedule. Here's the thing. I think you can do Reggie Bush standalone for Penn State. You could do Reggie Bush with Matt Leinart and Dwayne Jarrett for the Notre Dame game. You know, how about doing something like that, where you have several Trojans with Reggie Bush being part of that. So I think that you know, it's not as though you're just going to invite Reggie Bush once, right? You can go back into the well, but I think Penn State standalone, Notre Dame, have him with Leinart, Jarrett, other members of the 2005 team that played that epic on October 15th, 2005 in South Bend.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Well, Matt, I was talking to a caller. I'm screening a caller in the background. I didn't know you were going to stop so abruptly. Okay. Yeah. So okay. I like your idea about bringing that Reggie Bush, the whole ensemble, right? Dwayne Jarrett for 4th and 9 with Matt, and then the Bush push for Matt and for Reggie. You know, hey, you know what? Maybe we could do like, you know, Civil War reenactments. Maybe at halftime we could pull the old Stanford trick and do some kind of reenactment during halftime. I don't know, but I do like the idea of maybe Reggie coming back because we got to catch up on 13 years and 14 years of Reggie Bush that these fans have missed out on. So having Reggie for a couple of games to me sounds like a really great idea. Caller, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for waiting. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jerome from LA.
Jerome, thank you so much for calling. What's on your mind?
I just want to, call in and say, hey, it's a great day to be a Trojan, you know. Reggie finally got his justice, and I'm hoping USC get their justice.
Yeah, that's next, right, Jerome?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember clearly back then when all this went down, it was like a witch hunt, you know. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the players that was involved, their hands was dirty. But everyone ignored that because they wanted to take down the powerhouse and even the playing field. And it was unfair to the kids, because the kids They come in, they practice hard every day. They student athletes, you just don't know how hard it is to be a student athlete. And then to have people, just take away your championships, your wins, your accomplishments, just because they want to take the university down. It was a tragic thing, Just like you just had the quarterback from Auburn come out and say he got paid, and they were still paying people down there in the SEC and in the ACC, but it was like going on deaf ears. Nobody really cared. The only people that cared about was taking down USC. So give us our wins back, give us our championship back, and let's close this thing forever.
Amen. I totally agree with you 100%. No one will ever convince me that this was not a conspiracy to take down SC from the highest levels, from television to conference presidents, conference commissioners, and university presidents. I'm telling you, this was calculated. This was something. They sat there and just kind of kept shaking. Go to any of those SEC programs. Go to some of these Big Ten programs and rattle their cages for about 5 years to see what you find. Right, rifle through all of their phone records and everything and see what you find. If anything, it was the greatest vindication of Pete Carroll was the fact they sat there with a fine-tooth comb and tried to find anything. You know what they came up with? They came up with an O.J. Mayo situation where they pretty much checked out O.J. before he came to USC and then brought up charges against USC that happened before they kind of vetted him. And then on top of that, they get it was a European tennis player, so they got that third piece of the COI could stitch together something saying there's lack of institutional control because a tennis player was making free phone calls, a phone card from Heritage Hall. I mean, it was really so feeble. And all they could do is say that Todd McNair had a late night conversation with Reggie Bush where he put Lloyd Lake on the phone. I don't even know. It doesn't even sound real at how this just ridiculous investigation and report went through, and everybody wanted to see USC get taken down, and that's how it happened. When you have Missy Convoy from Notre Dame and Paul D, Paul D, and what he had going on at Michigan or at Miami, and for him to say that you should have known, That's where we're up to now as far as trying to convict people. Is you should have known, so you're guilty. It's pretty embarrassing, Jerome.
Well, the thing about it is back then, the power structure was set up where if USC stayed the top dominant program, the SEC and ESPN could not form what they was trying to form. So they needed to take SC down for them to become the dominant power conference. And on top of that, behind everything, I always wonder, we live in America, right? And according to all the things that I read and what I understood to be the background of the whole investigation was that the stepdad and the players, all they wanted to do was to form an agency where Reggie would be their first client. And I could never in my mind come up with a reason why that would be such a illegal thing. If it was my son and I wanted to start an agency, who's to say I can't have partners and start an agency for my own son? And I always wonder why that was such a bad thing, where somebody else that own an agency can walk through the locker room or either be out on the field and talk to the players. And I don't know. I just thought it was just, to me, it didn't make any sense to me. And USC didn't have a lot of people, even the people in the conference wanted us for us to fall. That's how high up we were. Even the Pac-10 or 12 or whatever they were at the time, they did not support us. They did not help fight for us. They wanted to see us fall. But ultimately, what it cost them was the conference.
Yep.
We were the powerhouse.
Well, they need that. They didn't realize the power of USC. They needed USC to be strong. They needed USC to legitimize the Pac-12. They thought that it'd be great to kneecap USC. They didn't do it. I mean, right? Well, they did. Who knows? But they, like you said, they certainly didn't stand up for USC. That, along with the profit sharing for the TV revenue, making it all even, so the USCs of the world are even with the Washington States of the world as far as revenue for TV. That, and the fact that they were more than fine to watch USC get, hobbled by the NCAA. That's on them, and that's why they no longer will be in a major conference anymore. And I think both of those are really great points. But going back to your saying, they didn't prove this stuff. I believe that the general story is correct, but it just, to blame Reggie and USC for what his stepdad is getting involved in, and with his, and here's the thing, it was a relationship with the stepdad that had with Lloyd Lake for a number of, you might understand if I'm right. So it was a pre-existing friendship before Reggie was probably even in middle school. So I knew there's rules about, pre-existing relations with people, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, what they said is that the Bush family was living free, rent-free in a house. Obviously, the rest of the country says that USC boosters bought their family a house, which is, again, completely wrong. But why let the facts get in the way of a great story? The things they did allege, it wasn't that simple. It wasn't just Lloyd Lake and his stepdad having conversations about starting up a marketing agency. There were a couple other people involved, Michaels, and they were trying to start up a fledgling agency, but it never got off the ground because it was a joke. And then Reggie didn't sign with them, because he started going, people were really talking sense to Reggie and saying, you can't sign with them. You're talking about you're talking about an NFL contract. You're talking about, a fortune, and you're going to hand over to these guys.
Exactly.
And so when he got that, he's like, heck no, I'm not having you guys represent me. You guys have no idea what you're doing. And so then when he turned that, they saw it as a double cross, and then they started singing like canaries, and the rest is history.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, like you said today, I was listening to some other networks talk, and what makes me cringe is when they still peddle the lies. Mm-hmm. That's what makes me cringe, because I love the university, and when you try to slander the entire university with lies, it makes me cringe.
Agreed. And you know what?
But
go ahead, Sergeant.
I just wanted to say that, you guys do a great job, and I believe eventually we're going to be back on top. I hated to see the conference dissolve the way it did. Now I have to travel across country to see the games. And matter of fact, I'm going to become a season holder, and I'm going to be at the big house. So, I'm going to be there with my USC gear on.
I'll be there too. I hope to see you. If you see me, say hi. That'll be awesome.
I will.
Roll into Ann Arbor, and we'll come away with that win. Fight on, Jerome. Great call.
All right. Hey, Bob.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. I mean, the way that the Pac-12, and we just kind of touched on it a little bit, but the way the Pac-12 just did not have USC's back at all. It probably went a long way.
And for people wondering, hey, why did you go to the Big Ten?
Right.
This
stuff didn't happen to Big Ten. You know what I mean?
And the Pac-12, and Tim, you were talking about, 20 years ago, the Pac-10 not supporting USC, not wanting USC to succeed. Let's do it then. Let's carry that over to the recent years. Like the Pac-12, if it wanted to survive, what was the easiest thing to do? Give USC the extra revenue share. Make sure the Trojans don't have any incentive to be a flight risk. Nope. CEO group wouldn't do that. So, that's why USC left, and that's why USC fans rightly aren't looking back.
And that's why it's difficult to pin the villain on USC's back. The fact that they didn't have USC's back, so now they're pinning this little note saying you guys killed the conference. No, you guys killed your own conference. All right. Yes. Just because USC left doesn't mean you guys couldn't have kept going. But actually, in reality, because USC left, you couldn't keep it going. Caller, thank you so much for waiting. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, Mike? My name is Michael from San Diego.
Michael, nice to meet you. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, just to kind of comment on what you guys said about Reggie coming out. Like I said, I'm from San Diego. I do know his dad. Played against him in high school, or his son, Reggie, in high school. But one of the things he did mention, which is crazy, is that before he even got the Heisman back, he was telling us that they were going to court and trying to do something with NAACP. And he guaranteed us when he talked to us that, he was going to get the actual Heisman back. And what he did mention was they do want to come out as far as one of the games, when he does get it back, but he didn't really say which game he actually wanted to come out in. So I just kind of want to make that comment that, that is one of the things that they are actually kind of trying to do, is come out of one of the games, but they just don't know for sure what game they're going to come out at as far as, receiving the Heisman.
Yeah, well, when USC no longer is so there's a period of 10 years where USC had to disassociate themselves with Reggie. And when that time was up, Reggie, they could embrace him back in the USC family, start using Reggie around the university and for publications. But he said, he's like, no, I want, and I think it's part of the legal thing, Matt, you could probably fill me in here too. He wanted to show what damage that this is doing to him. And if he got embraced fully and is running out of the tunnel, I think it might have weakened his case for the bigger picture of how this whole event has changed his life. So, there was never a question that Reggie, in my mind, I always believed because the facts just speak for themselves. And then, like I said, with the changing of how college football is now, and the fact that the biggest thing, I think I talked to you about this. As soon as that ruling came out, where it was basically ruled unconstitutional, there's an antitrust violation or anti-labor violation or whatever the exact wording was, that you can't have these guys work, literally in this essence, work for free while the TVs are making millions, the universities are making millions, and you get to set the price and say, well, it's really our tradition that they don't get paid, and it's an honor for them to represent their university. All this stuff's great and all, but it still has nothing to do with the fact that you're making money off of their labor and they're getting no money for it. And so once I knew that the Supreme Court came out and said, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but this is completely illegal. You can't do this. As soon as I heard that, it's just logic tells you, okay, so if it's unconstitutional illegal now, because it came in front of the Supreme Court and they ruled on it, that means if they come across it back when Reggie was playing, the same thing would have happened. They would have said, you can't do this. This is unconstitutional. It's illegal. So if you have a rule based on something that's like illegal, that's breaking laws, that rule is illegal now, and it would have been illegal then. And it's just a rule you got to throw out the window. I never understood why people would say, well, yeah, but it was a rule back then. Once upon a time, there was a rule that there's a law that slavery was okay. But we don't look well on that time period at all, saying, oh, well, it was legal, so, whatever, right? No, it's not like
totally
5-year-olds But you know what? It was okay legal back then, but now it would be bad. No, if something's illegal and wrong now, it was illegal then, and it should never have been a law. And it should never have been a rule, sorry.
If there are rules or laws that are unjust, like there's no glory or honor in following them or enforcing them. But it was against the law, but it was against the rules. I don't really care if the rule itself or the law is unjust, right? Not to compare USC's travails to, the civil rights movement, but just to illustrate the point, Rosa Parks sitting in that bus, it was against the rules, but who would dare say that Rosa Parks was doing something remotely wrong, morally, ethically, or otherwise? We should be concerned with having just rules, just laws, just structures. And if things aren't just, we should focus on the lack of justice rather on whether the rule or law was being followed.
Great point. Perfectly. Thank you, Matt, for filling that in with the illustrations. Exactly what I meant.
And the last, pretty much comment I would like to make is, it just, again, when, talking to his dad, he also mentioned that obviously Reggie had no deal with Lake. Again, a lot of people know him out here in San Diego, but he had no deal. He had no knowledge of it. His dad, the family, they took, obviously, responsibility for it. But again, like you said, we wanted to hear that. They wanted to just, go with what they wanted to go. I guess obviously, it's, like you said, it had to do with USC, and they wanted just to, doing pretty bad as far as everything like that. But as far as Reggie, obviously he didn't know anything when it came to what was going on. And even with, the running back coach wasn't even there, I believe his name was. That was kind of wrong, obviously, what they did to him too, with him not having no knowledge of what was going on. So that's pretty much, the comment I wanted to make as far as, when it came to that.
Yeah. And when I say things, by the way, I want to be very clear. When I say things like the rules he broke, and I say that, I'm saying that just assuming that the NCAA had any real legitimate evidence against him. The majority of the things that the NCAA ran with was just truly from the words of Lloyd Lake. Like, he didn't have receipts for all this stuff. They have no idea. I mean, you heard on Dan Patrick to talk about the cars that Reggie was driving around in, the apartment that Reggie had. He didn't have. He wasn't living this lavish lifestyle. You know what Reggie Bush would have been worth just if he got maybe 5% of the number 5 jerseys that he sold for the University of Southern California in the 3 years he was there. We're talking millions of dollars. He didn't get any. There's no proof of exchange of money or that he had any wrongdoing. And Reggie to this day stands by the fact that that wasn't happening. I do know that it's pretty proven that what his family was doing. But as far as what Reggie himself did, that's some hard sledding to say that there's proof that Reggie Bush was getting money. Now, I always slide back on the fact that, hey, look, I know most of these players were making money, and this odds are likely that Reggie was getting money, but no money different than the average star player across the country was getting at every single school. This idea that we this pure institution of scholar athletes that play the game for the love of the game and for their school, and that they live the life that every other starving student has. No, there are guys on those teams that were struggling very bad, but the stars would get a little bit of money here and there. And to say that Reggie Bush was like the only person driving around these rich cars getting money from people can't be farther from the truth. And every time I hear on the national stage, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Like you said, it's, I'm sure he could have been getting money, but as far as from that deal with Lake, he had no part in that, and that's obviously what they're trying to get him on, which isn't fair. So
yeah.
But yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it. Great call. Yeah, it's all about that accuracy. I can make my guesses and think that he was receiving money, but I don't know he was getting money. I'm making assumptions. But then for the NCAA to turn around and say that the rest of the the universities are pure as driven snow, and it's just these upstarts out in California, this Pete Carroll guy, and they're just paying all their players. You remember, you guys, SC fans out there? Do you remember what they'd say about how all the players are on payrolls and Pete's just buying people, et cetera, et cetera? It had nothing to do with the fact that we are USC and that Pete Carroll is probably one of the greatest coaches in our lifetimes. It had nothing to do with any of that, or the fact that it's in Southern California, it's got beautiful weather, it's a top university. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff, right? No, it had to be that USC's paying players in order to be great. That was the narrative. Some of our rivals still stick by that. It's kind of silly because all Pete Carroll did was leave USC, go up to Seattle, and almost won 2 Super Bowls. So I think he kind of knew what he was doing. It's kind of sad though. All these years later, we still have the same fans and media and national media still throwing the same stupid stories about how USC was dirty. And that's the problem. Is we can give Reggie his trophy back, and who knows, maybe even those wins and the title may be returned to USC. But all the damage that all of this has done, the botched, poor investigation the NCAA perpetrated on USC, the sanctions, like I talked about, the 30 young men that never got to play football at USC or get a degree from USC. That's the real injustice of this whole thing, is the fact that the NCAA allowed some of its members, louder members, more powerful members, louder voices in the room to take down USC. Well, Matt, I think that's it for calls. We told you guys out there, hey, look, if you want us to to go live, make sure that you have our information. Make sure you're subscribed right here, because today I think a lot of people didn't make the call because guess what? They're not subscribed to the show. And so if you're not subscribed and you're not getting notifications, I didn't put a tweet out. I usually put a tweet out for games. I was so busy today, I didn't even get a tweet out. So, it was, if you're subscribed or you got lucky, then you saw the show. But make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button. Appreciate you all being here. We got one person coming in at last minute. Caller, you just made it. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oops, my bad.
From Albuquerque, New Mexico. I usually call in all the time on Fridays.
Sorry, I had the soundboard down. Well, who is this from Albuquerque?
This is Mark from Albuquerque.
Oh, Mark.
I call in and usually on Friday.
That's right. We get so many calls from Albuquerque. My bad, Mark. Sorry about that.
No problem, man. No problem. I was just calling real quick. I know you guys are trying to get out of there, but real quick on the Reggie Bush thing. With them trying to say the Dubs magazine. He had some rims and tires on an old Cutlass or something, trying to be like Training Day or something like that. It's just nonsense. And Lloyd Lakes. This is a dude who tries to strong arm his way into Death Row Records, and but. He's neither here or there. I'm glad he got his trophy back, his standing. I'm with you. I think the NCAA needs to reinstate the losses, or the wipe, them wiping the slate clean of our title run, and give Pete Carroll his due respect. I want him to lead us out, one of these games this year. Being that he's not with Seattle no more, I would love Pete Carroll to be the one that, represents USC and leads them out of the tunnel into one of the games.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Pete's been,
having said that, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say Pete's been lined up a lot with Jed Fish up in Washington lately because his son Brendan Carroll is the offensive coordinator. It's kind of like Pete Carroll, defensive coordinators. I think Jed Fish has Brendan Carroll as the offensive coordinator up there. So Pete's been spotted, as rightfully so, right? Supporting his son up there. I'm sure he and Jed Fish know each other from their NFL days and coaching together, actually. So there's a lot of connection between Carroll and Washington right now. But I could absolutely, Pete Carroll, he loves USC. Well, here we go. We have Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is a Trojan. Yeah. So I'm not worried about that. It'd be great to see. There you go. We gotta add him on, Matt. So we could have Reggie come out for Penn State, and then they can reenact a full reenactment of the Bush push as they come out for Notre Dame game at halftime. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, that's great. Yeah, that would be excellent. But I just kind of want to get back to the caller, the guy from New York, kind of touched on it. But I kind of want to find out, maybe if you guys have any insights of this portal recruiting type thing going on. It's like the Dodgers. We want to show out in Tony and the Mookie Betts and everybody. The fans, the fandom. I always talk about the fandom. We always want that. Marcus Aurelius type person. In the portal. But somewhere along the line, those guys, the Marcus, Demonic Williams and stuff like that, they had to have been developed to get to the point where they're demanding X amount of money and taking their tours, NIL, highest bidder. Who is on the radar besides the kid from Georgia? I would love him, and of course, Michael Williams. But who else is on the radar who might not be on that high-end, 7-figure deal that USC really needs to go out there and the people who are in the portal are showing interest in regards to the defensive tackle, defensive line, and offensive line. Do you guys have any insight or awareness? Because, I would rather just take someone who's hungry, who wants to play, and excited about being in USC, as opposed to the highest bidder. I see this all the time. Chris Gallipo and the other linebacker talking about, I would just go somewhere and play. I'm like, man, shut up. You were supposed to be the number one recruited linebacker in the country. You just didn't step up to your potential. And a lot of times we see that because these guys, these 5 stars or whatever, they don't actually realize their potential. They might realize it later, but they didn't realize it at the time when we needed them. So I'm just, besides these big names that, everybody wants, who else is under the radar for USC in regards to the transfer portal or in recruiting that we can look forward to helping us out in these positions of need?
Yeah, I honestly, the other names that are out there are really just guys that you're looking to fill depth with roster spots. I mean, a lot of the guys are overlooked. Kobe Pepe, I mean, I know he gets a lot of heat, but, he's 3'10". If we're just looking for a guy to play, Kobe Pepe, talk about wanting to play for USC, that guy's still here. He really wants to play for USC,
right.
Local kid from Bosco. Dejan Lafitte, he's young. I mean, he's got a couple years in now. He's in the program already as well. I mean, who are we going to have, that's going to be better than those guys that are currently in the portal? You have two types of guys in the portal. You got the guys that couldn't play at their school, right? Or you have the guys that are so good that they're looking for big dollars in the NIL market. And it looks like USC's been saying no, I think, really, to some of these bigger names. I think that with Kristen Miller, I think that might be something that they may be, kicking the tires on as far as the kind of impact player that's worth that NIL money. Short story is they're going to pull in some people. I think that they may be, this Kristen Miller thing will give us a lot of clarity whether he comes to SC or not. I think at that point, I'm sure USC, Matt, has a couple of people on the hook that they are looking at, probably slow playing a little bit based on what their options are. It's not like they're going to be empty of the situation. The question is going to be, though, can they fill that role that Rakes was going to play, even close to it? Because that's going to be the key. That you don't want Bear Alexander. You don't want just a role player space filler in the middle there, because then you're going to get Bear double teamed and it's going to go downhill from there. And they're going to need to get a difference maker. And I don't know of one in the portal. If you're asking for a name, you're either going to need them to get some depth pieces there and have Kobe Pepe or Lafitte kind of step it up and become a difference maker. Now there's other guys, when you're thinking about guys on the roster right now, Nate Clifton, he's not 310 pounds, but he's a pretty big, strong guy, played in the SEC. I don't know if you're going to want him playing, nose tackle, for instance, but I think that they might just do variable. They just might get creative up front. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen. The short answer would be they're either pay money for one of these top defensive tackles, or they're going to try to fill the spot and hope one of the guys can step up, Matt.
I think the main thing is just, can they nail the evaluations? When you go after a player, are you making the proper evaluation such that you have a guy with the raw material that you can develop? Now, of course, previous defensive linemen that came in, you had Alex Grinch coaching the defense. And so maybe now with Coach Henney, maybe you can do what Kirk Ferentz and Phil Parker have done a lot at Iowa, where they take 2 and 3 stars, but they turn them into 5 stars. Again, USC is going to need to do that to a certain extent. Obviously, you'd like to get the elite player that Coach Henney can then mold into a superstar. But if Coach Henney can get a coachable player who doesn't have the high ranking, but he can develop him into a 4-star, he can develop him into a 5-star, USC is going to need to have at least a few evaluations that go in that direction. So let's see if that is part of the transfer portal story.
Yeah, I mean, so people are bringing up the obvious with Chris, with Kristen Miller, but Demonic Williams, I mean, the rumor is a huge price tag for him, and USC is saying, is he going to be worth that money? I mean, we need it's a huge that's a big money spot, tackles, offensive, defensive tackles, cornerbacks, quarterbacks, right? These guys will ask for top dollar, just like look at the highest paid positions in the NFL. I mean, these guys are going to want to get paid, and I'm sure the coaches know what they're doing. They're making their evaluations. But as far as a name, I think we need to let all these names pop out, because maybe all the names, there's still till the 30th, till it closes. I mean, so there's still time for guys to hop into the portal. I don't think we get to hear the answer to this. I don't think they reach out and get a 3-star guy who's just going to fill the role for them yet. I don't think they want to commit to that kind of a player at this point, hoping that they can land a bigger name that may enter the portal.
Right, I got you. And one last quick thing, and I don't want to put the man under the bus, but like Isaiah Rakes, was it and maybe you might have insight. Was it an NIL situation where he wanted more dollars? Was it a situation where he realized, or the coaching staff realized, that this guy is not really on that level yet and needs to work? Or was it a play to get back into the SEC? You know, okay, I'll commit here, and when the window opens up, I could move into an SEC team that's going to pay me where I feel more comfortable.
Well,
I mean, it seems like these things are going on that, you know, I don't have any idea what's going on with their family or their representatives or so like that. But it's almost like, you know, they're playing the system. So I just wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the actual answer again to that one, and quite frankly, we will never know because I think Connor Morissette tried to ask him point blank, and he just said, I'm not going there. So I don't think we're ever going to get that answer from Lincoln Riley. And you can guess. If I were to guess, it's probably a combination of a bunch of things. I mean, again, the Pollyanna, yay, let's get excited, is that he heard about someone that's entering the portal, let's say, I don't know, a Kristen Miller, and realizes, okay, playing time, this is my last year. Do I want to sit behind, do I want to lose my minutes to somebody else? Or do I want to go somewhere else and try to maybe get paid? Maybe someone got in his ear. I mean, who knows? Really, there's no way to know. I do know that Rakes only has 1 year left. I know he doesn't have a lot. He didn't play a lot. He was kind of a backup at A&M. He needs to get out there and show what he can do for the NFL. He needs tape, just like a lot of guys, like Kyle Ford last year. He needs to show scouts what he can do. He seemed like he was fully on board. So, what would change his mind that quickly? I guess the two things you named. Either one, that he hears someone's coming here and he's probably going to be out of a job, or two, that someone decided, here's a really big paycheck. Let's go. I think it'd be one or the other. And I'm sure we will probably never know unless you know him personally.
Right. No, and I don't. I just was kind of trying to get a gist of, this player, this system, the way it's kind of constructed. There was a long time ago I played college football, but it was more compete. You got to compete, and I would see some of these high name players would come in, freshmen, and it's like, okay, well, you make the choice. Do I go to class, or do I just try to, just keep, worrying about trying to get some playing time, and you make that decision. And, now they're able to have different outlets, and they can go different places. And I don't have a problem with someone who wants to go somewhere to play, get some film, or, just play. But I just want to know if there's like some type of insight or something going on inside, if you guys knew that it seems to be like, matriculating and causing these players to either not want to come and play for a prestigious school like USC, or just wanting to bolt out when they're here, for, it's not greener pastures, but maybe it's more of a payday. I don't know. So I've just seen if you guys had any insight to that.
No, nothing really insightful. Matt, you got anything on Rakes?
If you're transferring 3 months after you transfer in, I can't imagine that you would be optimistic about your playing time or your spot in the lineup.
Yeah, the timing was a bit for him to come in and abruptly leave. Yeah, that's really USC doesn't lose a lot of guys. They lose guys to the portal, but they don't lose a lot of guys. I think they want, like for instance, like CJ Williams, right? I don't think USC wanted to see him go to Wisconsin, but he did, right? He went for whatever his reasons were. Isaiah Rakes, they obviously clearly brought him in because he was a need and they wanted him. But he left. But in general, USC is not losing a lot of guys, especially at a position. So it's two things. One, Rakes leaving with Henny coaching there. That just makes you scratch your head, and it goes down to what Matt said, what I've said. There's something significantly changed either on the roster, either the future roster, the current roster, or someone came in with a payday that he couldn't turn away. We will probably never know which ones. I would guess it's probably a combination of both.
Got you. Yeah, and I just kind of wondered if there was like some insight or something that you guys might have had regarding stuff like that, because it just seems like that's the narrative. I remember a few years ago the defensive lineman from South Carolina. Yeah, Hurst or whatever his name is. He actually had a great NFL career, but he just milked that signing day. I think it was like almost the NCAA had to force him to sign with South Carolina, because he is still just enjoying his recruitment. It just seems like, it's just like these guys are free agents now, and they just want to go out and see what's happening, or is there really something underneath? So I've always been to the point where, kind of like you guys said earlier, I'd rather take the guy that didn't have as high of a high of a name early, and could turn into a great player being developed by, like a great coaching staff, and has the potential to get to where these guys are now. Because Demonic Williams probably wasn't a highly recruited player coming out of high school. Otherwise he wouldn't sign where he signed. So.
And a chance to come home for Williams.
My question.
Yeah, there's that chance to come home for Williams, but again, it's just one of those high need. I mean, USC is not the only one that needs depth at defensive tackle. And I see Matt looking at me, so we got to get going.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate it, guys.
No, I appreciate you calling in. I don't want to cut this short, but if you had called about 20 minutes earlier, you would have had me. We could have gone for a little longer, but I've taken Matt about a half hour over our expected time already. And I called him last minute, say, hey, the news, let's do it. So, we got to get scooting, but appreciate you calling in, and look forward to hearing from you Friday or in the future. So fight on.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Fight on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of good points. Oh shoot, that's what I wanted to talk to him about. Let's hit through these chats here really quick, these questions, and then we'll get out of here. So callers, that's it. Sure. Sorry, someone's calling in right now, but that's it for the night, or we're getting out of here. Let's hit these really quick. I don't do very well in the chat, Matt, when I'm doing the conversations. There's just too many bells and whistles. But so is Kyle Ford the only player to win the crosstown rivalry on both teams? To my knowledge, he is.
Well,
I can't think it.
Let's put it this way: it's a short list, but it's definitely something that's worth looking up.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty safe bet, because that's just one transfer that generally doesn't usually happen. Lamont calling in, appreciate it. Sorry, texting, he couldn't make because he's working. I understand, but my bad. I was tripping. I mean that is a way to just give your. I'm sorry. I'm coming back. And he was such a great Trojan. I mean, if those of you guys don't know Kyle Ford's story, he had 2 horrific knee injuries that he battled back from on both of them. And for him to come in and have that moment in the USC UCLA game and win, anybody that comes back from not 1 but 2 horrific knee injuries and then continues to play Division I football, to me, it just has my hats and all my admiration. And he's always been a really great Trojan. We all make mistakes, Kyle. It's cool. And you're coming back now. We admit your mistake and you move on. That's exactly what you need to see. Russ talking about just that goal line package with Ford and Lemon and a Deuce. But you don't forget about, and don't sleep on Joey Olsen, the tight end. That's another 6'5", and then Jacoby Lane. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are 6'4" or bigger that Lincoln Riley's going to have to choose from. I hope they have tall corners and safeties like USC does. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of boxing out and jump balls for SC touchdowns. So great point, Russ. And I think that is about it, Matt.
Okay, so for Friday, just want to tell everybody, Taj Washington, Marshawn Lloyd, maybe even Kalen Bullock might get picked on Friday. So I'm going to be here. But if a Trojan gets picked, I have to go to Trojan's Wire and publish some stories. So that's going to just setting the scene for Friday during day 2 of the NFL draft. Just want to remind everybody of that. As a website editor, I might get called away during the show. So we'll see about Friday. But I plan to be here for the show. But just USC draft news might interrupt that.
Yeah, and Donnell with thank you. I know I didn't have anything really materially to do with what happened, but yes, this has been a thing for me. I just kept wanting, for well over a year, I was begging that drum, and I'm glad that it's finally here. We got a super chat from Danny Kenny. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you. Maybe next step's call again, because that's what Matt's saying. You guys, you heard it from Matt. He may step away. And if he steps away and I'm up here and I have phone calls, I am not going to sit here and talk for an hour by myself. So if you guys on Friday, if Matt's here, I'll probably be on here for about 10 minutes talking, and then I'll run out of what I have to say, and we'll call it a night, and then I'll go watch the rest of the draft with Matt. But make sure you're here nice and early, just in case Matt gets an early, needs to leave early for the Conquest Call-In Show, our scheduled show, which is on Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then as always, we have our Monday show. And I just started my own little channel over on Trojan Conquest, so you can check that out as well. Mark and I will talk about that probably on Monday or Friday. It's just a show that has a lot of the B-roll stuff, all the film and the interviews I'm taking from the practices. So that's going to be over there as well. But that's it. What a great day for USC. What a great day for Reggie Bush. What a great day for justice. This is something that should have gone on a long time ago, well overdue. Joe's just turning in and have been living under a rock for the past 12 hours. Reggie Bush has his Heisman Trophy back, and it's right where it belongs. Next step is NCAA. Get on the right side of history. Maybe I can still keep telling you, get on the right side of history, and make sure that you also give USC and reinstate Reggie's stats and records back to him. Right.
Well, your next thumbnail is restore the victories. That's your next thumbnail.
Yeah, and it's definitely coming. It is. But
yeah.
Thank you so much to Russ. Thank you to Jackson. Thank you to Brandon, Craig, Jerome, Michael,
Mark from Albuquerque,
and the last call, Mark from Albuquerque. You guys are awesome. You guys are the stars of the show. This is the call-in show that's yours. We're not going to be the last, but we were the first to give you guys this voice. Make sure you check us out again on Friday with your next opportunity, and we could talk about draft. I mean, hopefully we'll have lots to celebrate with the draft, Matt. Sounds like it might be good for a lot of Trojans. We know who's going number one. And you know what that means, you guys? That means that USC now is number one in the NFL category of number one overall draft picks of all time. And we're also number one in Heisman trophies with 8 Heisman trophies. I know we've all been saying it for a long time, but it's now official. 8 Heisman trophies, something no other university in college football can say. So for Matt, this is Tim.
We saw our friend John from who does the Michigan show at the Voice of College Football. That show's called The Ocho. Well, USC is now The Ocho as well, along with John and Michigan.
Should I give them one last look at this right here? So you guys, this is now going to be retired. It's done its purpose.
Last time, baby. Last time.
It's see this day. It's the numbers wrong. It should be 4970. But it's officially going to get retired. Although, we're going to have to change it. We're just going to change the title. It's not going to be the fact that it's going to have the it's not going to say about give us Heisman back. I think we're going to switch it, and we're going to call for the NCAA to give us our national championship and our wins back, because they'll be on the clock.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, for Matt, this is Tim. Appreciate all you guys being here as always. Look for us Friday, 6 o'clock, and we'll see y'all next time. Right on.